Hello guys, so can you hear me and see the screen clearly? So maybe we can wait for a few seconds and then we would start. So we will just wait for a few minutes and then start with the session. So till then we will see various contests. So basically this is the another platform called as Lead Code. So here also today we will see various questions from various websites. So let's see how many questions we can do. But this is one website called as Lead Code. So most of the interview preparation and programming related TSA round questions are means this is kind of recommended for the interviews. So to solve many questions are there from various things. So they also have a special interview tab in which they have also provided various questions from various special this thing various special companies. So they have separated out questions and things depending on the companies. You can see here Google interview, similarly Microsoft, Facebook, Wix, Amazon, Apple, etc. But these are all available for the premium subscribers. So we can just go to problems, and from here you can see there are various questions. You can pick anyone, you can apply some tags, and you can do some things. So here they have also some special things, kind of a special course, 14 days to study plan to crack algo, 2 weeks to study plan. So this kind of have some specific set of questions which you can solve and try. Similarly, there is one another website called as Hacker Earth. So here also you will get some good questions. So there are many websites like this, so you can try any of them. Here you can also see there are some hackathons and some online this thing coding rounds going on for various companies, startups, etc. You can also sign up for Hacker Earth and select your competitive challenges, hackathon, or hiring challenges, depending on your case. There is also a section practice where you can practice various questions. So here mostly you have the interview preparation, code monk, basic programming, data structure, etc. You can try any of them. So we will just see the basic programming, and in which there is a question called as split houses. So today we'll start with this question and then move on to other things. So till then, so let's just start with the question itself. So is the screen clearly visible or is there some issue with the screen? maybe should be clear. So let's just start with this question. So the name is split houses. I'll just increase this size. And here, so just take a few minutes and try to read this question and think, how can we do this? It's kind of a big question, but still. So I will also start with you. So basically, you live in a village. The village can be represented as a line that contains n grids. Each grid can be denoted as a house that is marked as H, or a blank space that is marked by dot. Basically, this is the dot. A person lives in each house. A person can move to a grid if it is adjacent to that person. Therefore, the grid must be present on the left or right side of the person. Then we are required to put some fences that can be marked as B on some blank spaces so that village can be divided into several pieces. A person cannot walk past a fence but can walk through houses. So you are required to divide the house based on the following rules. A person cannot reach a house that does not belong to that specific person. The number of grades each person can reach is the same, and it includes the grid in which the house is situated. In order to show that you are enthusiastic, if there are many answers, then you are required to print the one where most of the fences are placed. Your task is to decide whether there is a possible solution. Print the possible solution. So kind of here we got a basic idea. So let's see the sample input. So here we will get some string such as this. So h dot 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 h. So kind of here h indicates the house. So as we read here, each grid can be denoted as a house that is marked by H. So if it is an house, then it is marked by H. Or if there is a blank space, then that is marked by full stop. So kind of here we can see this is house, then three spaces, and then again a house. So there is a number of characters given there. So let's see what is the input format. An integer n that represents the number of grid. So it is between 1 to 20. The second line is the n characters that indicate the village that are represented as h or dot. So as we can see, this is the kind of village which has the house and the points. So what we have to do is the output must be printed in in the following format. First line, if possible, yes, otherwise print no. Basically, we have to check whether we can divide the village in pieces or not, and if yes, we have to print yes, or else no. Then the second line, so if the answer is yes, then only we have to print how we can do so. So basically we have to print how we can do that. So here, as per their explanation, they are saying each person can reach one grid. So basically this first person can reach his house only because in between there is a fence, so he can't move there. And similarly the last person also can only move in his house. He can't move adjacent. So then each person can reach one grid, uh, and each person can reach his own houses. Note that HBB also works. Each person can only reach one grid. So let's just see an example directly instead of discussing this. So just a second. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Basically, as they have said, let's take some random village string. So H, or let's just take their own example. So here is the HBBP, and yeah. So here what we have to do is basically this is an house and this is an house. So wherever there are H, so those are house, and these dots are basically the blank spaces where we have to put some fences. So basically each house contains one person. So each house contains one person. So he should not be allowed to pass to another house. Basically, he should not be allowed to pass another house. And so doing this, we can add fences. So basically, if this one wants to add fences, he can add here in the blank spaces. So we denote fence by B. Similarly, here too, we denote by fence B. So this is one of the possible solution. Let's just take this is one of the possible solution. So here what happens? These both can't go to each other's house. So our first condition is satisfied. The second condition is each person should have, let's just directly see the question. So here you can see a person cannot reach a house that doesn't belongs to that specific person. This first point. So he shouldn't be allowed to go to anybody else's house. So this is the first question uh, which we got using this thing. So then the second is that the number of grids each person can reach is the same, and it includes the grid in which the house is situated. So basically here what happens, this person can only travel this house, this person can travel this one space, this one space, and this one space. So kind of this person can travel 3 spaces and this person can travel 1 space. So we have to equate this. Both the persons should have equal number of spaces where they can roam. So kind of move. So what we can do is we can add a fence here too, so that this house one also gets only one place to move. Basically now both the peoples have a single area in which they can move, because they can't go beyond the fence, which is denoted by B here. So they can't go beyond this. So then what happens? Let's just see what is the third condition. Now we have completed 2 conditions. So let's just see what is the third condition. So third condition says that in order to show that you are enthusiastic and if there are many answers, then you are required to print one where the most fences are placed. So basically this could be one of the answer here which we just created. This could be one of the answers, but they want maximum number of fences. So here, as we know, this person can't go beyond this and this person can't go beyond this. So what we can do is we can put a fence here, because it won't matter, because this can go one place, this can go one place. So first condition is satisfied. Second condition is that okay, first condition was they won't interfere in each other's house, so that is achieved. After that, adding these 2 fences, we achieve that they have equal number of places to roam. So kind of they can't uh, move more places in the grid. Okay, second is done. Third is we have to add most fences, maximum number of fences. So if there are some blank spot between this, so what we can do is we can add a we can add a fence there, because it won't matter, because this person can't go here, this person can't go here. So whether or not there is a fence, it won't matter, but we have to choose maximum. So we will go on adding in the blank spaces. So here, what are my analysis? Let's discuss what are the analysis. So here basically if I have some random house, so here what I have to do, if this person should not go here, what I have to do is I have to add a fence. So if I add fence here, what will happen, this will not go, and this can also be this person will also be restricted to pass this house. Similarly, if I put a fence here, what will happen, this and this person won't interfere in each other's house. Similarly, after this, what I can do is I can add fence somewhere here. So you would ask, why won't you add a fence here? Why won't you add a fence here? Yeah, we can add, but let's just see what are the minimum fences, and then we can go to maximum thing. So here also, if I put a fences, the first thing is completed, that no one should go to each other's house. So this thing is completed because no one can go beyond the fences, and each house is covered by fences. Now the second thing is each person should have a specific same number of grids to move. So basically what happens if I keep any of the blanks, if here we can see he can move two spaces, here he can move one space, here he can move 0, here, sorry, basically this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 1. So basically I can see there are various different numbers. So what I can do is, let me just add here one thing. So let's just discuss this first, and then we will go to next case. So here what happens is we have to somehow restrict all of them. So we have to take the minimum number which a house can go and then change accordingly. So, or what I can do is I can change the position of this fence. So here if I change this, just a second. So here if I change this fence, then what happens, he can go two places, and other allows same. So here also if I change, then again something another happens. So let's just see if I add a fence here and remove the fence here, this one fence. So here what happens, this is reduced to 1, and so we can basically try multiple test cases. So this is 2, so this is now 3, and this is 1, this is 2, and this is 1. Basically I can restrict him to, so I'm trying to find a case where everything may satisfy. So there may be a case, there may not be a case, just trying. So here is 2, so I'm getting this thing only. So what I can do is, as the third condition is we have to take maximum number of fences, I can add a fence at all of these blank spaces. So I will get maximum number of fences, and second thing I would achieve is each person can go only one place, because he will have only his house to roam, he won't be going any other places. So what would this do? This would satisfy our two conditions. First of all, maximum number of fences, and second is of each person should have same number of grid movement. So he can move either to one place only, two place only, or three place only. So basically, as we have to add maximum fence number, what we can do is we can add each fence at this thing. So we can go on adding fences for each blank space. So what will this do? This will give us maximum. So this will be one of the maximum possible case. So basically, until now, I got that whenever I get a blank space, I will add a fence there. So I will add a B there. So basically, I have to iterate through this string. Wherever I will get a full stop, there I have to stop. So yeah, let's just try out this. So so programmers, yeah, if you want, I can solve in Java too. So it's as per your need. So let us just solve in Python and C++ first, and then if there is a requirement, then I will try to solve in Java too. So yeah, let me just reduce this, and or let's just start with C++ itself and then move to any other thing. So just a second. So now what we have to do, we have to basically take inputs. So let me first see the input. So int n, I will take an int and then input. After that, what will I do is I will take a string. So string s and c in string. So after this, what we have to do is basically, so now I have this string, so I have to iterate through this thing. So for int I equal to 0, I is less than the s dot size, or we can say n, because n and s dot size gives the same value. So then for each value, what we have to do is uh, let us, if the s of I means currently that position is dot, means it is blank. So single character and blank. So what I have to do is I have to, let's just modify it by B. So here B, and then at last let's just print C out. So we have to print the yes or no, if it is possible or not, and then whether and then the string by which it is possible. So here basically there is one catch, that they are asking whether it is possible or not. So there may be a condition where it is not possible. So for now let's just print yes, and then think about another test case where this is not possible. So let's just print this and see out the string s. So let me just compile and test. So here it is. Okay, wrong answer. Why wrong answer? Yes, and HP. Okay, everything is changing. So here if s of I is s of I equal to dot. So basically we have to check. So we have to check whether it is equal or not. But what I have did is I just assigned that value. So basically I will check this, and let me just compile and test this again. So here now I can see sample test passed, and let's just try to submit, because my sample test case is passing. My solution would also be correct as per my as we can think. So it is currently evaluating, and it is partially accepted. So what does it says? Some of the input cases are accepted and others are not accepted. So here you can see accepted, wrong answer, accepted. So this is the thing. So why is it giving wrong answer? So there is something more in the same question. So we have to always think what are the edge cases, what may happen and what may not happen. So let's just think a bit about this question. So now I have only seen every format whichever I am taking is kind of working. Means I can put a fence, I can put maximum number of fence where there is a this thing blank space, and then we can add a fence there. So let's try to think how we can make this question that we are unable to put a fence, or somebody goes to somebody else's house, or there is no case where we can add a fence. So basically if there is something like this, so if there is only one house, we can't add a fence. So basically this is true for this case. Why? Because there is no blank spaces, and this person is not going to anyone's house, and nobody is coming to his house, and yeah, this is the maximum number of fence we can add, because there aren't any space. But similarly if there is one space, so what may happen, this is also true. Why? Because there isn't any other house. So what we can do is, if I take one more house here, and then we see if I add a fence here, what would happen? This would also become true, because single place he can move, single place he can move, and there is a fence, maximum number of fence. But let's see what happens if there are two houses adjacent. So here this person may go to this house and this person may go to this house. First case not validated. Second, maximum case, so kind of first case is not validated. So this is a wrong, this isn't possible. So here and solution isn't possible. So similarly, then also let's try another conditions. So the second condition was that each person should have equal number of grid spaces to move. So this can move one space and this can move one space. So kind of basically can move same number. So this happens. Third is we have to add the maximum number of fence. So here we can't add any fence. So that's the maximum. So these two are satisfying, but the first condition isn't satisfying. That is, the person can move to another's house. So here, as they have mentioned in the question, if I show the question again, here they have mentioned a person cannot reach a house that then does not belongs to a specific person. So this is one of the condition. And if we see, you are required to put some fences that is marked as B on these some blank spaces, so that village can be divided into several pieces. A person cannot walk past a fence, so he can't go beyond a fence, but can walk through houses. So if we see, so here he can walk through houses. So if there is something like this and we haven't added fences here, so what can he do? He can go to this house as well as this house. Why? Because he can pass through houses. He can pass through houses. So similarly, if we neglect this blank spaces and we just create this thing, so what may happen? He can directly go to another's house. So this is a wrong case. So what we have to check is, we have to first of all check if there is, so we have to first of all check if there is any adjacent houses or not. If there are some adjacent houses, what we have to do, it is not possible to apply the fences, so we have to print no. If there are no adjacent houses and everyone has some separated value, then what we can do is, we can go on adding B at the means we can go on adding fences at the blank spaces. So what this denote is, this denotes maximum usage of fence and nobody can go anywhere except their house. So let's just try to code this and see whether this works or not. So first of all, yeah, instead of checking this, let me just keep this as secondary loop. So let me first check. So I have pasted the same code, and let's just start from 0 and check if s of I is equal to h. So kind of h means there is an house, and similarly let's put an and, or we can also put a symbolic and. Then let's just take s of I plus 1, means the adjacent node is also h. If it is also h, then what will happen? The solution isn't possible. So what we can do is, we can just print, we can just see out, what we have to say out is no. So it isn't possible. And else, and then just return. So we can just return. So similarly, can return 0, or yeah. So we can return 0. So kind of we have to add a return 0, or maybe return would also work, but we have to try. So then if this is not the case, then what we will do is, if there is no adjacent houses h, then we will go on adding fences at the blank position and print yes and the solution. So here, let's just compile and test this. You will get an error. So let's just see. So here for this case, it just passed. Yeah, let's just try to submit it and see. So this should most probably give an error. If it doesn't give, then let's just check. Okay, so this thing works without any error. Yeah. Why? Okay. So this is currently accepted. So we can see the question is accepted. So every case is satisfied. So why was I saying that we would get an error is, so let's just discuss that too. So here we are using s of I plus 1. So basically, let me go back here and let's just take a string h dot h dot h yeah, dot. So you can take any string, it won't matter, but let's for now, and then n is equal to 1 2 3 4 5 6, so kind of 6 spaces. So now what I have to basically do is, I am basically going starting with this index. So this is 0 1 2 3 4 5 n minus 1. So basically, first of all, my ith index is here, I plus 1 is one place ahead. So this is the first case. then what will happen, my I will be here, I plus 1 will be here. Similarly, I will be at the second position, I plus 1 will be at the third, then I will be at the third, I plus 1 will be at fourth, then I will be at fourth and I plus 1 will be at fifth. Then there is a condition that we will go up to 5. So what would happen if there is an 5 here and my I is at 5 currently, then I plus 1 would give me sixth element, and I am checking for sixth element which is not in the array. So what would happen, this would throw an error, out of bound error. But why it isn't throwing, I'm not getting. So most of the times it throws, why? Because that memory isn't accessible. Here there is a memory which isn't accessible. Maybe here according to string there may be a null terminator, so that may happen. Or what may have happened, sometimes there is an kind of buffer. So I don't know correctly, but there is a buffer kept here, uh, or memory management is done in some technique like that. Here some spaces are available to check. So if this space is available, we can check, but we won't say that we would get correct answer. So yeah, that's all. So let's just try to implement the same thing in Python and Java as well. So we have got a request for Java. So let's just try for this. Let me just change my language to Python first. Python 3.8, and let me just increase the size. So here now what I have to do is, yeah, let me just remove this all and let me just see the question. Okay, so first of all there will be an end which would be integer, so we will take an input. So then I will take a string s, so directly input, and then for I in S. Okay, instead of I in S directly, what I have to do is I have to check the next element too. So I can't do that directly using the string S. So what will I do? I will go on indices. So for I in range, okay, not S, it should be length of S. So len, length of S, and then what we have to do is, yeah. So if S of I is equal to H, and S of I plus 1 is also equal to H. So what we have to basically do is just print no, and then just uh, return or break the loop. So we can directly break. And similarly, what we can do is for I in range length of S. So if this is not the case, then what we can do is, or we can keep a flag here. So yeah, because if we break from here, what will happen, this second for loop will again continue, because this isn't inside this break, means it isn't considering using this break. So what we can do is we can create a flag, so, or we can create is possible flag, and let's just for now say yes, it is possible. But if we get something like this, then what we will say, is possible equal to false, means it isn't possible. So why do we need this thing is because, uh, just correct this, possible, yeah. So why do we need this flag is because if I put a break, what will happen, this for loop will get ended. But again, as this control flow moves ahead, this for loop will be again executed. So we'll get two answers, no and then yes. So instead of that, we have to check first. So if is possible, so if it is possible, then only we will implement this for loop. Else what we will do is, else we will print it isn't possible. So print no, maybe capital no, yeah. And then what we will do in this for loop is, we will basically convert all the s of I to, if s of I is n full stop. So double check, if this is n full stop, then what we'll do is s of I will be changed to B. So this is the thing. So let's just compile and test. Okay, so after that we have to also print here a string index out of range. So similar thing which we discussed in the C++, this is happening here, string index out of range. So we have to handle the range. So instead of length -1, we will go up to length -1, and then we have to also print this value also. So print yes, and then the value 2, then print s. So let's just compile and test again, and let's see what happens. Mostly this should work and it should pass, and we are getting runtime error. So string B does not support item assignment. Okay, yeah. So basically we can't mutate this string in Python. So basically we can't modify this string. So what we have to do is we have to create this s of I as a list. So what we can do is we can directly create this as a list whenever we get a string. So basically this too can work because we are directly converting a list. We are directly converting a string, which is collection of character, into a list. So this should now work. Let's just see what happens. It takes a bit of a time and still it is a wrong answer. Okay, so what is happening here? As we are printing a list, we are getting this thing. So what we have to do is we can either print each character, or I can use an, so basically we are getting a list. So what can I do is I can unbox a list using this character. So s. So basically before s, if I put a asterisk, what will it do? It will separate out this element. So this won't be a list. Individual items will be given in this element. So in this print. So basically what would happen then is let's just print this thing. Again compile and test. So now still this would be a wrong answer. Why? Because we will get a space. Because in print there is an parameter called parameter called as its parameter or arguments. So argument called as separator, which is given a space, but we have to not print a space anymore. So we can give it an empty string, which will print nothing then. So if there are multiple elements in a same print, what will happen? The separator will be applied. So therefore we are getting this thing. So now we can see sample test case passed. Let's just submit this code and try whether this works or not. This should probably work. Yeah, it's accepted. So now it's time for Java code. So as per the request, let's just try the Java 2. So I haven't tried a lot, but yeah, let's just see. Everything has a beginning, so we will begin this thing from here. So let me just do this thing. So what are we doing is br.readLine. Basically string name equal to reading input from string buffer. So basically I am most probably familiar with scanners. Maybe I would use scanners and let's see what happens. I don't know the plus points, the pros and cons of the scanner buffer reader, but as far as I know, because as far as I have worked with Java, I mostly used scanners and I don't have a good idea regarding this buffer. So mostly it would be great to use scanners, because why to waste things on that buffer and thing. So let's see what happens. If it doesn't support, then I have to check for the buffer itself. So let's take a scanner S, which would be a new scanner object, and which should take inputs from system.in. So this is we created a scanner. Then what we have to do is, first of all, take n equal to s dot next int. So next int I capital only. So we'll get an I dot next int. So this way I am getting this 5, and then I have to take a string. So string let's say s. Okay, no, names will be collided. So instead of s, let's just take this sc and string s. So string s equal to sc dot next string. and this should probably give me the string. And let's just try printing, because I don't know whether this works or not here. I haven't never coded in Java. So system.out.println uh, ln, yeah. So let's just print n comma s. I don't know whether this supports or not. Let's just try. So no, uh, sc of type scanner, no suitable method for print ln. So there isn't any suitable method for doing this. So let's just copy paste this thing and to n and s. I have to just check whether inputs are coming correct or not. Or we could create the whole code, but this won't it won't work. So here can't find symbol method next int variable sc type of scanner. So there isn't. Is there next line? Maybe. Let's just try. Or if programmer you're there, just you can print how we can take strings. Okay, I'm getting output as 5, but I'm not getting this s. So yeah, the best way is to Google how to uh, take string as input in Java using scanner. So using scanner. So here next line is a method, but it isn't working maybe. Or okay, the next uh, let's just try this a bit. So maybe what happens is this is the general use case in C++ too, that whenever we have a string, so only that data is taken there and the next line is ignored. So maybe uh, what I can do is I can take this thing twice, or I can print this again, because I don't know whether there is anything else. So compile and run. So yeah, this is working fine now. So as we know, whenever we take an int, the only integer part is taken. So only this 5 is taken. After that, there is a new line. So what will happen whenever I ask for next line? What will happen is I will get this next line, which is of no use. I'm getting a blank thing. So then if I again ask for next line, so what will I get? I will get this next line whole, because now the cursor is at the starting before the h. So now I am getting the string. So yeah, so now I can implement the same thing which I did in C++. Maybe I can copy that code, because things are pretty similar. Just the input and output is a bit complicated, means a bit different, not complicated, you can say. So then this thing should work fine. Let me just copy this and go to Java 8, sorry, Java 14. Where did we go? Maybe it was Java. Yeah. So let's increase the size and then print here. So this should also work, because yeah, let me just see. Let me just indent it correctly. Yeah. So here for is correct for I this thing. Then s of h, maybe this is also correct. Print return no. So instead of return, yeah, maybe return, or it returns nothing. Maybe I have to use the flag thing again. So is possible equal to false. So false, and before that we have to print a bool value. So bool is possible is true. At first we will say it is true, but then we may get to know it is or it isn't. So yeah, Let me just put this in some curly bracket and add a if case. If is underscore possible equal to true, then only do this thing, or else don't do. So first of all, check for if and then close the for loop and do this thing. So kind of indentation. Else what we have to do is uh, okay, instead of cout we have to use system.println. Just a second, system.println. Instead of n, I will print no, and let me just copy this thing. So yeah, this is for if, and what is for this then? Okay, so let me just use replace this by s, and similarly this by yes, by yes. So let me just compile this code and test. Compilation error 18, line 18 is not a statement. So where is line 18? Okay, is was equal to false. Okay, okay, cout isn't cout doesn't work. We have to just convert that thing. Cout isn't any keyword in Java. And then let us see, is there any other thing? Line 34, reach end of file while parsing. Line 34, maybe there is some issue with this closing. So this is for test class. This is for, let me just check. Yeah, now this should work fine. Maybe. Hope so. Still compilation error. Can't find symbol class boolean test case. Array required but string found. Array required but string found. Maybe array required but string found. Line 24, 25. So how we do things? Let me just uh, how to check character of string in Java. Is index, last index. So this works maybe. How to modify string in Java. Maybe let's just see. So like this, basically the syntax is same. That program should work fine, but I'm not getting how we modify. So Jessica Miller, get value, Java dot we scan, we create a new, we get value. Okay. So then what do we do? No string buffer. I don't need that thing. st.next token. This token. There is some weird thing going on. So maybe I could solve this, but using a complicated technique. Mm, Just spare me for that. So what will I do whenever I get this string? So I will create a new array of that. Uh, I will take an character array of size maybe. Okay. Let us say n plus 1, and then I will create a new or a underscore s, which is array representation of string, and then yeah, this would be for now. So both the things work fine maybe. Then what will I do is, after getting this string, for int I equal to 0, I is less than let's say ni plus plus, and what will I do is basically a underscore s of ith value. I will assign it as let's just take s of I. So basically I am adding this character to this array. So this should mostly work. And then instead of this s, what I can do is I can modify this as by a underscore s, and this should work mostly. Let's just compile and test. If this doesn't work, then let's just skip to next part. Still there is an error expected at line 12. Line 12, this thing. Maybe it's here. Okay. Complete, maybe compile and text again. Error, this expected, not a statement. White isn't a statement. Character, how to define an array. Basically, array is defined similar to this as per I know. What I can do is print this and new char array of n plus 1. This thing should work. Okay, so maybe I have to think this, but if you somehow manage to create a list of this thing, or if there is some value how we can check the ith index, so you can use that here. And this code should work fine. So here whatever is given, this thing will work fine. You have to create a thing because logic is same for every program, just there is an syntax difference, and which maybe I'm not able to do that now. Or it would take basically just time. I have to just do a few searches more, and that should work. But still, why to waste that time? So what we can do is, for now, let's just stop here with this Java question, and let's just see if there is some another question or not. So as we discussed, we have an late code also. So let's just find a quick question there, and yeah. We will find a quick question here. Simple, easy, nice and easy for us to do as quick as possible, and then we may stop. So it's medium level. We need an easy level kind of. Medium will also be fine, but here what you are given an integer array nums consisting of two an integer. You need to divide numbers into n pairs such that each element belongs to x and each element present in a pair are equal. Okay. What we have to do is you are given an integer. So let me just increase a size bit. So you are given an integer array nums which contains two n integers. Okay. So you need to divide nums into n pairs such that each elements belong to exactly one pair. Each element belongs to one pair. Okay. The elements present in the pair are equal. Okay. So we have to create a pair. Yeah. So there are 6 elements in them, so they should be divided into 6 by 2, 3 pairs. So, so what we have to do is into n pairs. So we have to divide 6 by 2. Okay. So if there is some n values, we have to divide. We have to if there is some array of 10 values, so we have to divide. We have to make 5 pairs. Okay, we can make a 5 pair. So after that, what we have to do, each element belongs to exactly one pair. So each element, okay, we can make that somehow. And then each element, the element present in a pair are equal. So let's just think a bit about this. So let's just take some random example, or what I can say is 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6. So here n is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and array is having 2n elements. Yeah, and then okay. So here what we have to do is we have to create 6 by 2 pairs, means basically n distinct pair if there are 2n numbers. So it is 3. So what I have to do is I have to basically make 3 pairs in which every element should be consisted in one pair. So I will create 3 pairs at first. So the second condition is each pair must have same element. So I can pick these two and put it in a list. Then I can pick there are no other elements which are same, so 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So this isn't possible. Why? Because there aren't any means there isn't any uh, pair of similar numbers. So basically, as I can see from here, what I can say is I need each number even times. So if I have each number even times, I can make a pair of 2. So basically here, as per the question, okay. So as per the question, here what I can analyze is, first of all, we should create n by 2 pairs. So basically, let me just go back to the question. So yeah, so you need to divide nums. So nums is basically containing 2n integers into n pairs such that, so basically here basically array has 2n elements and we have to create how many pairs, n pairs, means basically we have to half n by 2. So here if I put n by 2, then I get n. So basically I have to always make means basically I have to create a pairs which would be half the numbers. So if there are 2n numbers, so let's say if there are 6 numbers, then I have to create 3 pairs, which says that each pair will be of 2 elements. So basically, as we have they have said, a pair would always have 2 elements. So what will happen is, if there are 2 elements, so here from this first case, what I can assume that if there are 2 elements, we require 2 elements in a pair, then what may happen, we need x and x. So here what does this becomes, x is present 2 even number of times. So, or we can say 2 number of times. So let's just say I have a number 2, 2, 2, 2. So is this possible to separate, divide into numbers? Yes, it is possible. How? I can say there are basically 4 numbers. There are basically 2 into 2 elements. Basically this is number of n. So I have to create 2 pairs. So I will create 2 pairs. Now I need to add each elements into pairs. So I can add 2 comma 2, 2 comma 2. So now what will happen is, both the elements should be same. Yes, it is. Both the elements should be same. Yes, it is. So here how we can say that the both the elements would be same. So this 2 should appear even number of times. Why even? Because if we somehow divide it, so let's take what happens if we get odd number of times. So if there is not even number of times, then what will happen if we try to separate these numbers out? So what will happen? This 2 will make a pair. This 2 will remain as it is because it won't have any companion. So always if we have even numbers of pair, then each 2 would have a pair. So not in the case of 2 itself, there may be a 3, 4, 5 or any numbers. So basically what we have to do is we have to loop through each element. We have to loop through each element and then check. So then check each number is present even times or not. So basically we have to check it is present even times or not. So how would this thing be? Let's just take an example. Some random numbers 2, 2, 5, 3, 2, 5, 3, 3, 2, 1. So basically, if this is the case, what would happen? I will make a pair of this. I will make a pair of these two files. I will make a pair of these two threes. I will make a pair of these two twos. Then what would happen? This 3 and 1 will be remaining. So what happens? This isn't possible. So if I somehow convert this 1 into 3 or this 3 into 1, then what I can make is I can make a pair. So what is happening here? 2 is present. 2 plus 2, 4 number of times. 2 is present 4 number of times. 5 is present 2 number of times. And then 3 is present 3 number of times. So this is making an error. Therefore, we can't divide it. And then there is also 1 which is present 1 number of times, which is also creating an error. So as we said, we have to always see whether each number is present in even numbers or not. If it is present, then we can say that we can divide. So let's just try to implement this. So what we have to do is we have to basically print true or false. So basically we have to print nothing else. So here in the lead code, always what will happen is you will get a class. So basically if you are not familiar with oops concept, then you will always get input directly. You don't have to plan anything for input. Just you have to always return. So here you can see we have to return output as true. So it is a bool case. So we have to always return. We don't need to print here. So in the lead code, we have to always return the value, whichever we will compute. And then other things seems remains the same. We can create more functions here and we can do other things also. So for now, let's just try to implement this and then we can think of other thing. So what would happen is basically what I have to do is let's just first see how many numbers or what number range would we get. So here we will get number range is okay. It is always an even number. So numbers would be between okay, sorry. Yeah, numbers would be between 1 to 500. So 1 can come, 2 can come, 3 can come, 4 can come, 10 can come, 100, 500, anything can come. So this number, num of I means basically element of this array would not be greater than 500. So basically now what I am thinking is how would I store the count of that element, or how would I get the count of that element, whether it is even or odd. So for one, what I can do is I can go on I can create a counter for 1 and I can check for how many times 1 appears. But what would happen if I have to check for 2? Again new variable. What would happen if I have to check for 3? Again new variable. So this doesn't seem fair. Variable approach is kind of not that good. So I have to think something other. So is there any data structure which can store multiple values? Yeah, there is one. The array itself can store multiple values. Yes, but how will I know which value is stored for which means which count is stored for which value? So what I can do is, if I know that I can create an array and those have indexes which ranges from 0 to n minus 1. So what I can do is, if I have to store the count of 1, then I can update the value. Let me just show this. So let's just say I have values from 1 to 5. Okay, so I have to store for 1, I have to store for 2, 3, 4, 5. Creating a variable for each of this thing is doesn't seem fair, but I have an array which can store this thing. So instead of creating this boxes here, let me just create these things here. You can create a boxes or circular brackets depending on your language. So I know each array starts from 0. So if I somehow manage to add up to 5, what I can do is, at first I will keep everything equal to 0. Okay, so then let's just assume I have an string sorry, I have an element 1 1 2 3 5. Okay, so numbers are between 1 to 5 and it is in the range 2 n. No, these are not even. So let me just take 2 3 5. Yeah, let's just remove 5 for now. So what would happen? What would I do? Whenever I would get a 1, I will remove this and increment this counter to 1. So plus 1. So then if I get again 1, so I will change this to 2. Then I get 2, I will update this counter to 1. So I will update that place to 1. So if I get 3, I will update this to 1. If I get 5, I will update this to 1. If I get 2, I will update this to 2. I will update this to. If I get 3, I will update the 3. So here, that what I can do is I am getting these values now. So I can loop through this array. I can iterate through this array and check this is even. Yes, correct. This is even. Yes, correct is possible. This is odd. Okay, we can't divide. Can't divide. So we have to break here. So we have to stop here. So basically, similarly, if I add 5 here, so what would happen? In 5's number would increment to 2, and also uh, why do you have, okay, sorry, so there is some error. This isn't 3, this is 2. My week is 2, my maths is too weak. I directly jump from 1 to 3. So just a few changes. Yeah, here was 1. So here was 1, and let's just remove this for now, for previous case. So what happens here? We are getting an odd number. So 1 is an odd number. So can't it isn't possible. Okay, my English is also weak. So can't means it isn't possible. It is isn't possible. Let me put impossible, and then break or stop. So do any of one thing. So here, as you can see, we have to just look through these elements. So this can be in between. This can be mostly order of n minus n plus 1. Why? Because array start from 0, so we have to also include nth number. So if we have to include nth number in the array, then we have to create an array of n plus 1, because one value less we create an array. So then what we can do is so then basically that's the thing. The complexity would be n plus 1, because we are linearly iterating. So this is basically a part of time complexity. If you haven't seen this, so just refer any time complexity video. So one of the best video I can suggest is from Sir Abdul Bari. So there is a sir named Abdul Bari. So they have a great playlist. I would recommend that algorithms, or you can check out any of your choice. So yeah, this should be something. So this thing which we just discussed is also called as prefix array. So storing values in prefix. Maybe something it is related to prefix. I am not getting that exact word. There is there is a thing called as prefix sum, but that isn't this case. So maybe this is prefix sum technique. Sorry, prefix array technique. So let's just go back to our question and let's just create this array. So now what would be the maximum value of this prefix array? So it would be maximum up to the values I get in the number itself. So in the array, I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So where will it stop? So for that, I can see here constraints. So the constraints is saying that the numbers would be in between 1 to 500. So basically, I have to create an prefix array of 500 length. So 500. So let's create an integer prefix, and I will create this thing of 505, not 5005, 505. So 5 places extra. So this isn't needed, just 501 places are needed, because we need the 500th place, but still we can create 505 spaces. But let's just keep to 501. So why did I just say that we can create for 505? Because in real test case, in this kind of questions, there will be always guarantee that this will be in between this 1 to 500. But in real cases, in real definitions, what may happen is uh, we have assumed 500 users will join. But what happen if 500 one user joins, or 505th user join? Then this thing won't be won't be working correctly. So therefore we keep a buffer of some values. So therefore I mentioned we can keep a buffer of 505, so 4 places extra, but no need. So yeah, this would be a prefix, and we will initialize it all by 0. So basically, if I provide something like this, so I'm basically saying initialize every value. If I don't provide this, what will happen is garbage value will be kept inside this array. So then what I can do is, so basically I am getting this nums as a vector. So if you don't know vector, it is an dynamic list which can change sizes. So for learning this, you can go to STL. You can search more about STL in C++, which is standard template library. So then let's just loop through. It works same to same as array, just it can be dynamically changed. Its size changes. That's the only difference. There are more other difference too, but main difference is that. So for int I equal to 0, I is less than nums dot size. So similar thing. And then I plus plus. So what will I do is I will get nums of I. So what will this return me is a value between 1 to 500. So if I get this value, what I have to do is, let me just store this in integer, let's say value val. So let me just store this in value, and then what I have to do is I have to go to this value, this index of prefix. So prefix of this value. Why? Because I have to go, if the number is 1, then I have to go to first index and then update this value. So what I can do is, I know this is an integer array. So what I can do is I can just use the increment operator I plus plus. So this should increment that value. So similarly, you can also do this thing, that nums dot I, let me just copy this, add a comment here. You can also do what, here you can add nums of I. So this can also be possible. So mostly I was going to use this, but if it's confused, so it confuses a lot. So therefore I thought this would be a good approach. So now what I can do is I can now loop through nums array. So sorry, I can loop through prefix array. So for I int I equal to 0, I is less than prefix dot size, or I know it is 501. So I plus plus, and then what we can do is, let's just check if prefix of I mod 2 is not equal to 0. Not equal to 0 means it is odd. So then what we will do, is possible, we will keep a flag as last question, similar to the last question, and we will make this false, or we can directly return a false. No need of going further. We can directly return a false. What happens if the prefix number, means the number of count of any value, is odd? And then we have to, if this is not the case, then at last, after completing the whole for loop, we will return true. Okay, let's try to run this code and see whether this works or not. Mostly this should work, but let's see, is there any, okay, this accepts. So let's just submit this and see whether this works or not. Yes, it accepted. So yeah, this was the solution for C++ thing. So let's just quickly code this in Python itself, and if you have any doubt, you can post that in the chat box so that we can see, I can solve that query. So here we have to do the same thing. First of all, create a prefix. So here, prefix, let's just create using list comprehension. So for 0, for I in range, the range would be 501, basically 501. And then what we can do is, I will get a nums. So basically for I in nums, so I can directly loop through nums, and prefix of I. So ith value I have to increment. So prefix of I plus equals 1. So I have to basically add 1 to it. And at last, what I have to do for, let's just take count cnt in prefix. Now I have to check in prefix. So if count in prefix is odd, so if count in prefix is odd, mod 2 is not equal to 0, means it is odd, then I have to return false. Okay, F capital, so false. And else what we have to do, at last return true. So this would be a basic solution. Let's just run this code again and see whether it works fine or not. Yes, it works fine. Let's just submit this. So yes, Python also accepted. Both of the solutions are accepted. So yeah, this was the easy question from lead code. So here basically we have a class based approach, OOP concept, and similarly we have to always return value, not just print. And input is directly given in this lead code. So kind of you have to just think about the logic. But in the other cases such as this hacker earth, we have to take input, we have to print out things, and we have to do things. And this is another website called as Code Forces. So this is similar to CodeChef. This is a competitive programming platform. So here kind of it is not that much related to interviews and DSS because sorry, it is just a kind of means what we can say is, so this is kind of a competition based platform where we compete and we have some specific time, we have to complete that things inside that time, but we can practice also. But here as you can see, contest code forces round 805 is running. So basically here let me just see problems. Yeah, these are the problems which you have to solve, and there is some specific time. You can see contest is running, so there is only 2 minutes left you have to for solving this. So this is the case how these things means basically code forces work, similar to the code chef also. So code chef here, maybe I have removed that. So yeah, uh, yeah, this would be all for this session. If you have any doubts, I will just wait for a few minutes. If you have any doubts, you can post it. If you haven't, then this would be all for this lecture. We have extended it by 17 minutes, but still we discussed two good questions, and we solved it. So till then, keep practicing, keep coding. I will just wait for 5 minutes more. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me, or we can end this session. Thank you for joining. So maybe there isn't anything from you all because I can't see any chats. So yeah, that's all for this session. Let's meet in our next session, which is tomorrow. Let's meet tomorrow at 9 p.m. same time with some new questions and new approaches. That's all for this video. Thanks for joining.